Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my dear friend and fellow veteran, Alexandra Trent. I don't want to tell her story for you. Alex, take it away.
Okay. Poor child growing up in West Virginia, moved out to California when I was probably like 9 years old. California is a very different beast than West Virginia, obviously. So people are always like, are you country? Are you city? Like they never know what to do with me because they don't know what I am. But after we moved out to California, I was here for like 10 years and acclimated really well. I'm totally Californian now. And in high school, it was one of those things where back kind of in that weird period, I didn't have enough money to go to college, but my parents had enough money to not send me to college. So I joined the Army when I was 17.
Let's go, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and what year was that?
Do I really have to say that out
No,
loud?
you don't. No, you don't.
It was a while ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rich. So I joined the Army when I was 17. I had my 18th birthday in boot camp. Had to get the waiver and everything.
Where'd you do boot camp?
Relax in Jackson.
Okay.
So I remember 18th birthday, they gave me a special gift. They were like, you get to pull an all-night duty and clean everything. So I got to spend most of the evening of my 18th birthday with cockroaches, which was really special.
Okay.
I just remember that dearly.
Yeah.
And
I can see.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a core memory. So I had my 18th birthday in boot camp, and then I ended up staying in active duty and reserves a total of 12 years after that. So I did get deployed for OIF, so Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom. But because I was in the medical field, I went to Launchstool, and that's where we received all of those patients from downrange. Mm-hmm. So essentially, we were pulling patients from downrange, bringing them back, and then stabilizing them to send back to the U.S. Mm-hmm. It was during like the height of the war, 04, 05, 06, that we were kind of there. And it really messed with me. I was seeing like kids basically who had been blown up by IEDs every single day. Like, I don't want to get dark, but it was definitely an experience, holding these babies. They were little babies compared to me. They're holding their hands as they're going through like this super traumatic moment. And it was definitely something that shaped who I am and will forever, because I got to see the cost of war. And you don't take shit lightly. Pardon my language. I don't know if we can cuss here.
You can say whatever you want.
You don't take shit lightly when you see those types of things.
Yeah, it's
right?
such an impressionable age, too.
Oh, totally.
As a young adult.
Oh, my God. And, you stop feeling pity for yourself, right? When you have that global perspective, when you can kind of see how other people have to deal with things that you will never have to deal with. So I very much learned how privileged I was and how lucky and grateful. And, I'm a kid-ish, so I had to be shown that a few times, right? Mm-hmm. But it definitely shaped a lot of who I am today and how I approach work, how I approach parenting, how I approach friendships, and everything else. And then, so after I got back from my last deployment, my husband and I got together. He had 3 deployments downrange, as a Marine, as an reconnaissance Marine. So he, had all the happy joys of doing that for a few years.
Yeah, and you're on the other side of that.
Right. So we always like to tell people that our traumas like intertwined together, like our traumas work together.
Good old trauma bonding.
Exactly. So we got married, and then we just kind of started failing forward, I guess. We have started 2 businesses between him and I. He's an electrical engineer. I own an insurance agency. We have started these businesses. If you want to get into something deeper, I can talk about how I lost a business, but it was completely not my fault. It was kind of taken from me.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah. And then we've bought about 10 houses that we have as rental properties. And that was, again, that failing forward situation and learning on the fly. And we're here today. We have 2 beautiful kids. We've got some companies that are doing really well, and just very grateful to be where we are today. And we attribute a lot of that to our military experience and like the lessons we learned about how to be a good person and what to avoid as well.
100%. I can totally relate. OIF veteran right here too.
Yeah.
And
Makes us a little salty, right?
I don't know what it did for a long time.
Yeah.
Until I overcame some of those obstacles, those traumatic obstacles along the journey. They still flare up. You know, some of those nightmares come back. Some of those moments. I'm sure you deal with this too. Like my experience, there's one that really stands out. There's plenty of them, but one that stands out is I was in a Target line, and we were checking out of Target, and I started hearing everyone's conversation. Everyone's checking out. There's about 8-10 registers going on. They have the self-checkout, and I could hear every little word. I could hear everything. And I started to flare up. And this was about 10 years ago, 9-10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy smokes, what is this? What is this? I knew what it was. I hadn't had an experience that bad. Like living it right now, speaking about it.
Right.
And I'm sure you and your husband have had similar moments. How do you guys connect? Do you guys have maybe a safe word or like, hey, take a pause, take a beat where you guys can communicate through that?
I mean, I just tell him he acts like his father and he calms down. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that goes well.
No, I mean, realistically, it's at the point because we both, you know how it is. Like the closer you are to the trauma of that experience, the more reactive you are and the less thoughtful you are. And it takes a lot of years of like learning and growing to get past that, right? So we've kind of gotten to the point where I'm just like, hey, like you seem a little spicy. Can you want to examine why that is? And it's just kind of there, right? But again, that's that veteran to veteran understanding. If someone who was outside the military said that, you'd be like, what did you just say to me? Right? Who do you think you are?
Right.
But it's different that way. So we've been able to work on a lot of that and like do a lot of healing because we want to be really good parents too. And you don't do that if you're like a rage bean. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, if you're not able to connect with yourself, you're going to retaliate on those closest around you.
Yeah, and they deserve us doing a lot of learning and a lot of healing and a lot of figuring out how to be better and still manage to do the tough things in life and have that grit because that's what we got from that experience. So you have to intertwine those two things.
Totally. Right? And I know you're a busy woman in our industry, in the insurance industry in California. It's a crap show right now.
Oh yeah, totally. That's a polite way of putting it.
And it's probably going to get worse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so you're running this business. How are you able to keep your mindset focused on what you need to do and still be a great wife, a great spouse, a great mother in this ever-changing world of the insurance?
Ooh, okay. So I think going back to being able to have perspective is super important, right? I know that every day the work that I do is super important and it's impactful, but at the same time, is anyone going to die based on my actions? No. My children might if I don't take care of them, feed them, nurture them, all those things. And it's really about prioritizing what's important, right? And also making sure that you just attack every single day with that same respect that you would anything in your life. So I treat my children the same way that I treat my work, whereas I don't give them 50%, I give it 100%. And I try to be mindful in the moment. If I'm at work, I'm at work. And it's really hard as a parent to do that. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with. But when I'm at home with my kids, I try to be at home with my kids. And I tell them if I have to work. I'm just like, hey, I'm working. I can talk to you about this later. So they know that there's a separation between that. As far as like busyness goes and figuring things out, like scheduling is life. Time blocking is life. Knowing when to be and where to be and keeping organized. If people do not have systems in place, that's the first way to set yourself up for failure. Like in the military, they tell you when to be, where to be, how to be, right? What uniform to be in. And that's something you have to translate into your life and just be like, okay, I'm going to be really regimented about how I attack my day.
Right place, right time, right uniform.
Exactly.
Right. And I can totally correlate that with my friendships and my fiance and even my dog.
Yeah.
Right. And work. Okay, where am I? Right place, right time, right uniform. If I'm at work, it's about work. If I'm with my fiance on date night, I'm not going to be working.
No.
You can call me all you want. My phone's off.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to have boundaries with people. As much as I would like to pick up my phone at 9:30 at night to help clients, because really the type A personality in me wants to do that, I know better.
100%. You said something just a moment ago too, and I have this same thing, and I'm sure a lot of other veterans do, that our work isn't life and death anymore.
No.
And so when you have either a client or a lender or an agent that may be throwing something in your face, right? I know what I do. I just say, hey, it sounds like you need a few minutes to breathe. Real quick, call me back when you're ready to have a conversation.
Right.
How do you compartmentalize those behaviors, right? You just said it, it's not life and death. And I think more veterans know that than civilians. And I'm
100%.
not speaking negatively about the civilian mindset, but it's not life and death.
No. But the stress feels real.
The stress is real.
It is real. Yeah. And so when people have one of those stressful reactions, there's that, again, that great perspective of us sitting going, okay, this will be okay. There is going to be a fix for this. And I think that's also about having a really positive mindset. Like, I will be able to fix it no matter what it is, right? Because you know that you can handle it. So there's that confidence too. But I had a client even this morning. She wanted to call me at like 8:45 because she knew I was going to be talking to you today. And she was freaking out about something that's happening next month. And so honestly, because I have that perspective and I can kind of use my calm nature, which is really weird to say sometimes because I'm not calm as a person, but I can bring out that calm nature when I need to help people. I talked to her and I was like, hey, I can hear that you're very stressed about this. I can feel that it's causing you some anxiety, but I want to tell you I do this all the time. And I can handle these situations. So I want to take this off your plate for you, gift it to me, and then I'll come back to you if I need something. And she immediately, you could hear her just like, relax.
Wow.
Right?
That's deep.
But it wasn't that complicated. I just said, give me your stress. Because realistically, I'm not going to internalize her stress. I'm just going to make the problem go away. And I have the confidence to be able to do that because I've been working in this industry for a long time.
Right. That is a great statement, though. Hey, I totally understand where you're at, totally understand how you feel, and you don't have to carry that weight.
Right.
I'm going to come to you with a resolution. When I need something, I'm going to let you know. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's really simple.
Where did you learn that?
I think that's just those years of like being empathetic and understanding that, you know, people have different levels of stress reactions. And I probably have been on the other side of that a lot of my life. But now that I'm a little bit more mature and kind of like understanding of how people operate, I think it's just easy to see what they need, right? Because that's all she needed.
Totally, 100%. I totally agree with that. I have a funny story the other day. So we're getting married October 11th, 2025. Woo. So the 11th of every month, we have a date night, especially as fiancés. We're like, hey, yeah, that's my fiance. Let's celebrate this time because we're only going to have it for less than 13 months now.
That's awesome.
And so we went to Scott's Seafood on the river, and they seat us outside. We wanted to be outside. It was a little loud inside. We wanted to be outside. It's nice weather. And we're sitting out there, and about 8 to 10 minutes goes by, and 3, 4, 5 servers have went to different tables, and we're still sitting there. And I see the lady that checked us in, sat us or whatever, opens the door, and she's standing there like screening the area. And I was like, and I used to get so frustrated with bad service. I'm all about 5-star level service. So I just got up there, went up to her politely, and I was like, hey, just so you know, we've been sitting out here for a while. Nobody's came to talk to us. And she's like, oh my God. Another waitress comes out running. Basically running at Scott's Seafood. It's a really nice place.
Yeah.
And she's like,
really
oh
good
God.
espresso martinis.
Really good. So she comes out. She's like, oh my goodness, so sorry. And we came with compassion. We're like, oh, totally understand.
Yeah.
Right? Boom, boom, boom. Like, just, hey, we know you're busy. There was miscommunication somewhere. It wasn't super crowded, right? Enough for me to get angry that we're not being served. And instead of going in that aggression and that aggressive behavior, the pissed off emotion comes out. And instead of doing that, calm myself, had a conversation. She gave us amazing service, comped our dessert, and gave us a bottle of champagne.
Of course.
And she's like, thank you guys for your patience. Like, you guys have been incredible, right? And If I had gone at her angry, what kind of message would she have received from us?
Right.
What kind of message did I portray to the world that I am? And how would I make her feel?
Right.
How would I make our date night feel if I went old Rich
Yeah.
and said, hey, you didn't do this, right? So
Right. It would have ruined everything.
it would have been a bad start.
Yeah.
It would have been a bad start.
Yeah.
You know? And so when you're talking to people that are having these emotional responses, like how can you take the lead? And everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, or not everybody, but the people that want to.
Only the crazy ones.
Yeah, only the crazy ones. It's not easy. You have to learn. Your emotional intelligence has to increase for you to be successful. So what did you do to increase your emotional intelligence? And I know it's not life and death anymore.
No, I think, honestly, make a lot of mistakes, right? So you and I have actually had this conversation before on like different terms. We've talked about how in the military, you're directive. Pretty much everything's a command, right? Because people just have to follow what you say.
Right.
So pivoting that into a true leadership position and getting people to follow you with softer words is an art form. And you and I both know that, right? It's a lot more difficult, but once you kind of understand the finesse of that, you bring people to you, you draw people to you, and they want to help you. And it's much easier to move through life. People feel better. They want to be around you. Right? They talk about you well when you're not in the room.
Right.
And so as far as like, how did I get there? Again, being kind of an ass in my 20s.
Yep.
As I think most of us in the military were. I don't know a lot.
100%.
Yeah. And just, getting the looks from people like, damn, girl, is that really what you want to say to me?
Right.
And then, again, I'm going to go back to parenting. I think it's a much, much more clear correlation about how you speak to people and how they receive things. Someone told me once that the way you speak to your children is the way you want their inner voice to sound, which,
Ooh.
yeah. And like, I don't know how you were raised, but like that really resonates with me because I could have used maybe a kinder, gentler voice. I'm already a driver. I'm already someone who's going to get up and kick my own ass every day. I probably could have used a little bit like of a nurturing voice inside of my head to give myself a little bit of grace because I haven't done that for most of my life. So I think those are really the things that have helped me become a better person. And then just, learning, right? Taking the time to have conversations with people. You and I talk about this stuff a lot, right? Read some books, listen to some podcasts, find something that resonates with you, and then be around people that you want to have reflections of yourself in. And not people who bring you down or make you worse, which, we all start there and then you kind of have to cull the herd a little bit until you get to that point in your life.
Yep, sit at the right table. If you're at the wrong table, get up, push your chair, and go find the table you're supposed to. You might be lost for a little bit, trying to figure out where those people are or who those people are, who you want to be and where you fit in. And then you get that imposter syndrome for a little bit.
Totally.
And then a few years later, you're unrecognizable.
You are. You're a different person. And it's not because, you're putting on airs or wanting to be presumptuous about things, but you just want to be a better person than you were yesterday. And that's the only person that you're fighting against is yourself.
Isn't that so funny?
Yeah. But it works, right?
Yeah. I mean, living proof.
Right. Both of us.
Yeah.
Right?
So I want to go back to your moving from Virginia over here to California. You're 9.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh God. So shocking. So we were like out in the country in West Virginia. Like I literally
Hillbilly Deluxe.
Yes. Like full on banjos. I love banjo music.
Yes.
Side note.
Check out Billy's Strings. That dude's phenomenal.
Okay. That's cool. But so we were living out in the middle of nowhere, like on Route 8. Like we didn't even have a street name. I would like cross over cattle guards and like water and walk 2 miles to school, like to the bus stop.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah. Like that wasn't a joke. Actually, it was flat one way and uphill the other way. Yeah. But I accidentally got shot when I was a little kid. Like people were messing around with 22s, like those things, right? It wasn't deep. It was like just barely a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound.
Yeah. But so when we came out to California, like I was like barefoot in the woods kid. Right. And we moved out to Citrus Heights and like suburbia and like apartment complex and a little bit of hillbillies. And my family is a little bit eccentric too. So it was very hard to acclimate. But again, like throughout the years, I was able to find my people just by being myself and not trying to be anybody else. So I think I found a lot of that in the military because you have a lot of different types of people and you end up having to work towards common goals.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. What was the driving force to sign up? You're 17 years old.
No options, right? So it's actually really interesting. I went to the IB program in high school. I went to Mira Loma International Baccalaureate student. I probably could have gone to college if someone had just been like, hey, did you know you can go to college? Which I think is a pretty common story. But I didn't know that. I didn't know I could get scholarships and, take the SATs and all those things. And, I got to take responsibility for that. But also I never had like anyone help drive that. So I was just like, okay, well, I guess I could work in retail and hate my life, or I could go find some bigger purpose. Because I think for me, having a big purpose or having a purpose at all is kind of a defining characteristic of my like need to survive. Like if I don't have purpose, I wilt. It is not good for me. And you probably are the same way.
Can relate.
Yes.
Got to have goals, got to have purpose.
Yeah.
There's a meaning to all
There's
this.
got to be a link to it. And I think a lot of humans forget that about why it's so important. I think a lot of the things that we have going on in society is because we lose that need to center ourselves with the purpose. So I joined because I was poor and had no purpose.
Beautiful.
And I was looking for purpose.
Yeah. Did you know you were going to go to war?
No.
Me neither.
What a shockeroonie.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in 7th grade watching the Twin Towers. Well, that was...
yeah, I'm not going to say when I saw that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I was in... yeah, I remember seeing that happen. And flash forward through foster care and probation, all this great stuff. And then, like you, no option. I did have one option, which was I had Section 8 housing lined up and financial aid and all this stuff lined up. I was going to pay like $8 for an apartment, right? And I was like, man, something clicked in my head and was like, I want to go earn my keep in this world. I don't know what told me that. I have no idea where that came from other than God shining a light saying,
right.
Hey, buddy, if you want out of this mess, you got one option. And it was literally one option. The Marines wanted to take me. Navy wanted to take me. Air Force. I wanted to go Air Force. Actually, I really wanted to go Coast Guard. And pull up my rap sheet and I'm like, the Army's right over here, dude.
He'll take you.
Yep. I had to write letters of explanation and what happened and what I learned from every offense that I had.
Of course.
And I was like, son of a... And my chicken scratch writing, like trying to get into this.
But they're like, you're fine. It's the Army.
Yeah, you're good, dude. So we go to basic training, and one of the first things I remember, like, we get through in processing because I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Fort Lost in the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And going through the in processing part, we go into, I was in Delta 310, and we're getting smoked one day, obviously. Not the first day.
I mean, we
went through Shark Tank, right? Or Shark Week, all this great stuff. And then they're like, yeah, hey, by the way, who's active duty? Raise my hand. I'm all pumped. Yeah, me, dude. I'm better than all you guys, right? And they're like, hey, by the way, just so you know, you signed up. We were going to war. And it didn't register. I was like, cool.
Sure. Yeah.
Sign up. I'm 18, dude. I don't care.
Right.
And no idea I was going to war either.
No.
How shocking was that?
Pretty darn shocking, right? Because it's not reality until it's reality, right? And I think most people who join the military, like there's a very small component who's like, I just want to serve my country, very honestly. Everyone has that part in them, but then like a lot of the kids that I met who came from worse backgrounds than I did were just like, I have to get away from my life, right? And this is the only way that I can figure out how to better my life. And holy donut, are we able to do that? Right?
Yeah.
We've been able to use VA home loans, GI Bill. Like I'm almost done with my master's degree.
Let's go. Congrats.
On the GI Bill.
Yeah.
Right? And I probably wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. I didn't have that leg up in life to be able to do that. So I feel, you know, very lucky that I've been able to take that moment of, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life, and turn it into something. And I think that's kind of the power of being able to join the military, is we get that too.
And I think we know there's benefits going in or when we get out, but we don't truly know them until you start digging in a little deeper. Right? Start finding out. It's not about getting 10% off.
No.
It's not.
Although the National Parks Pass is really nice.
Yeah. Thank you for helping me with that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I might still need some help.
That's fair. We'll do that every week for a year.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the benefits of it, and I'm not telling people they got to go into the military. However, if you have a calling, absolutely follow that, right? Those voices in our head that say, hey, man, you have nothing else? Maybe that's your calling.
Yeah.
Go give it a shot.
Or if you need help figuring out who you are, there's a few places you can turn to do that.
100%.
Military does. It helps. And it is harsh. You could end up not being on the planet anymore, right? You can end up with serious trauma. You could end up with a lot of things. But also, I think that most of us who came out the other side are very grateful for the opportunities that we have been given to become whole humans based on that. And the fact that we know the sacrifices that have been made too.
Yeah. I think one thing in our world, in the entrepreneurial world, being able to relate with a lot of people, connect with a lot of people.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right? I don't like the phrase, I don't see skin color or anything like that. Everybody sees it. It's, do you react on it? Right. That's where you go down the wrong path. But like acknowledging people having different backgrounds, different walks of life, different ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest blessings in my life, being able to connect.
Yeah. And understand that, you know, maybe just because we think something's right doesn't mean it's right. Too.
It's just our opinion.
It's our opinion.
Yeah, it's right to us.
Yeah.
I could have one thought and you can have a completely opposite thought. And being veterans, we don't even... Cool. I'm glad you think that way.
Right.
I love that you think that way. We shouldn't be the same. We should be different. We should think about things differently, because then we get to start poking holes and finding out the truth.
Yes. And it's good to question that reality for ourselves a little bit. And, you know, I think that's also, we can bring that back to growing and learning as a person, right? Because if you just have full confidence that you know what you're doing every single time, you don't.
Yeah.
You just don't.
The illusion of knowledge is ignorance.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's condemning.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is. And, you know, I think entrepreneurs, the way that we have to learn, you either have to learn quickly or you die too.
Yeah.
Right?
And this life, you can die multiple times and figure out your way to the top, like failing fast.
That's true.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have the stamina or the grit to keep doing that over and over again.
So, you lost a business.
I did.
Walk me through what happened.
I can't talk too much about it.
Okay.
Because NDAs, right? But essentially, I owned an insurance company in California, and California pulled back on insurance, right? And I had to restart. I had to reset. So again, no fault of my own through anything that happened, but everything that I had been building and working on, gone. And I had to restart.
Enter Goosehead.
Enter Goosehead.
Yeah.
So, you know, very, just like the real estate markets, very uncertain insurance markets at that time, kind of just post-COVID-ish, whatever that means. And I had to try to find something that was flexible, that would start small and then grow as I needed to grow, and also be able to meet the changes and demands of the future market. And, you know, there comes that, being in this industry for a long time, I kind of knew what I was looking for. So I'd gone through all these interviews and, you know, had been accepted by all these insurance companies. And because, you know, I have a lot of experience and I've managed and owned and all those types of things. And I also write insurance. So I'm very active in the insurance business.
100%.
But I'd been able to find this company that had the potential to grow with me. So it was a good partnership. And I have found really good friends there. I've found a business partner there. I found mentors. I found mentees. I found people that I can trust. And I've been really pleased with like how things have worked out, which, knock on wood, doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
So again, it was one of those things where like I had to dust myself off after getting knocked down. But realistically, like from my business closing to reopening was just like 2 or 3 months. So I just got back up and did it all again.
Yeah, 90 days.
Yeah.
A quarter.
And I don't know if I would have that kind of grit and fortitude had I not been in the military and known how to do that. Dig the foxhole. Oh, wait, we don't want it there. Cover it up, dig it 2 inches over. Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh man, inventory days, right?
Right.
Lay it all out. We do our inventory checks. We lay it all out, pack it all up. Hold on, we got to do this again.
Right.
The captain didn't see it, or the command sergeant major didn't see it.
Right.
Right. And they're signing off on this. You're like, you're just wasting our time, dude.
Oh yeah, and that is, it's the mental game to make you tougher. And once, I think it was like boot camp or something. There was a girl in the Bay, and they were doing the thing where they wanted us to make our beds, and then they come in shorter and shorter durations, and less time, and perfect bed, impossible to do if you have less time.
Yeah.
So I just like took my sheets, balled them up, and threw them in my locker. And then used the wool to wrap it up. And I was like, I'm going to get in trouble one way or the other. I might as well just roll with this.
Yeah.
And at that point, I knew, I was like, oh, there's systems to everything.
Yeah.
Once you learn what game they're playing with you, you just play the game right back.
Right.
And that's kind of like how I've rolled ever since.
That's cool. Fail forward, fail often.
Yeah,
right?
why
And
not?
it's not cutting corners. I'm going to get in trouble anyway. So
Yeah, who's going to die?
Yeah, we're not going to.
Yeah.
You said it again. I love that.
Who's going to die? I'm not a heart surgeon.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll be fine. Everyone else in my circle will be fine.
Yeah, 100%. So you said you're close to getting your master's degree. Has anyone in your family ever earned that high of a degree?
Yeah, actually. So there's no bragging rights here. My dad had a PhD. He was like the first in his family, I think, to go to college. Like, we are real rednecks. My dad's family was in the traveling circus. My grandma was a mermaid. They had a tiny pony and a 2-headed baby in a jar. And my family says that was the best financial investment my family's ever made. Like, real carnies.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know if I'd be shouting that out. That's cool. That's a story.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my roots are. But my dad was ridiculously smart, like so smart. He was like, they offered to have him in Mensa, and he was like, I want to hang out with you. Very smart, got his PhD. It was, amazing. So I can't get to like do that bragging, right? But yeah, I think that's, I'll be the second person in my family to have that higher education at that level besides just a bachelor's degree.
That's amazing. I'm super proud of you.
I know. It's cool, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cool for me. It's just cool for the opportunity.
100%.
It's cool for showing my kids what you can make of yourself. It's cool for the fact that I know my dad would be proud of me, very honestly. So I really like to own that and just enjoy it.
Yeah. Business owner, getting fit, wife, mother.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm getting my master's degree.
Why not?
Huh. Yeah, you see, like you just said just a few minutes ago, was if you have your systems and processes and your time blocking, right? How free are you? You guys just went to Oregon for a concert, and you're doing all this?
Yeah. So I think that's really important because everyone's like, how do you survive all the stuff you do? Because that's another question, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you go hard. I am not a prescriber of hustle culture. I'm not like a rise and grinder, even though I do it every day. Like, I don't espouse that. I don't think everybody should wake up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. Like, you have to honor your life a little bit. And a lot of me honoring my life is making sure I spend a lot of good quality time with my family. So this last weekend, I went to Portland to visit my brother and go to a concert. We had a great weekend together. I took 2 days, and then I took it was Saturday and Sunday, and then I took half of a day on Friday. So I didn't take that much time off, but I got to spend some good quality time with him. I travel with my kids extensively. We try to leave the country twice a year. And I think for me, it's kind of important because that really is the only time I disconnect like fully from work when I'm in a different time zone.
Yeah.
So I get to be a little bit more present for them and also show them the value of like, this is what hard work gets you. Show them different cultures, have them experience different foods. And so that they want more, because one of the things that I worry about, and this is, you know, circuitous, I worry about them having too much and not having that grit instilled in them. That is a concern for me because I do not want to make children who are so soft that the world is going to beat them down. Like I want my children to be compassionate, kind, loving, but I also want them to be able to dust themselves off and get up and do it again.
100%. And that's super commendable. I know a lot of people say they love their kids and they mean it to their fullest extent. And I have no room to talk on this realistically. Like,
you love Caliber.
I do love Caliber. I love kids. I have amazing nephews. And they love them to a fault where they can do no wrong, where they don't have to work. They just want to provide.
Yeah.
And they forget that one day you're not going to be here.
Right. So accountability is huge. I'm one of those people that I think if we could get people to take responsibility for their problems, and even if there's not a problem, we can talk about this later too, but even if there's not a problem that you are responsible for, but it is in your sphere, if you take ownership of that, your life is going to be better. People are going to respect you more and you'll have better outcomes. That's just the way the world works. And when you start taking that vantage point, that will improve everything around you. So I hold my children very responsible for their actions. They don't get away with anything.
Love it. Love it.
I'll give them a hug and be like, it's okay, dude. But also, you messed up.
Yeah. Can you walk us through an example? Are you willing to share an example of what that means? Those are amazing words. I want people to be able to put that into perspective.
So you want like a business or a personal example?
You pick.
Okay. So a lot of the times in the world that I work in insurance, there are issues that are caused that are not my fault. Whether it is by an insurance carrier, a piece of paperwork that didn't get tunneled down the road, things of that nature. In my mind, it does not matter that those problems were created by other people. It is, I take accountability for it, I take ownership of it, and I solve it. Because it does no one any good to put any blame on anything else. So we had, 2 weeks ago, a client who was very challenging. She's just a peach, right? And realistically, at the end of the day, I didn't make any money off of her because of the way that she operated. But at the same time, like she needed some things done and it was really not my responsibility to take care of it. But it doesn't matter to me. I picked up the problem, I solved it, and I took care of it. I mean, I work all on referrals. So there is value in creating that kind of experience for people. And then also I know when she talks about me in other rooms, it's not going to be negative because I took care of the problem. And I know that's kind of obscure because I can't talk about actual
100%.
Right.
Yeah. But taking ownership of the issue, whether it's your fault or not, and finding a resolution. Or maybe you have to connect to.
Right.
Right. Or three. Yeah.
And, it's the same way when you make people feel like crap. If you do it inadvertently, it's okay to be like, I'm sorry that this occurred. I'm sorry that this happened. What can we do to make this better?
Yeah, I put my foot in my mouth several times throughout my life.
I mean,
and then
do
sometimes, yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's like, I got to make that call. I got to repair that. I didn't mean for it to come off that way. I'm just really honest. And sometimes my tonality, I don't need the sugarcoating personally. No. Like getting yelled at, or getting screamed at. Or
just tell me what you need.
Tell me what you need and I'll figure it out from there.
Right.
And not everybody's cut from that. I do think there is some military background in that and some hardship in life that, just makes it simple.
Yeah.
However, when I got a fiance in there that's like different than I am,
right,
which is amazing,
right,
help me soften the blow to her where it's like, how do I really connect? And then it's the, what is the term? Basically, don't baby me. Why are you coddling me right now? I'm like, I don't know how to talk,
right,
dude.
I'm just trying.
Yeah, I'm uneducated.
Right. I'm trying. I'm learning.
Yeah. So it is fun. we wake up every day and we get to experience life, right? We live in sunny California with a lot of problems.
Right. But also kind of the best time to be a human ever. Too.
Literally.
Like whenever I think about all the crazy crap and all the news upsetting me, I'm like, it is the best time to be a human ever.
My parents live, 700 miles away or so. And I get to see them by clicking a button.
That's crazy.
I get to see them.
That's cool.
It's not, I don't get to feel the exact energy. However, I can sense it. I can read eyes. I can read the face, right? And telling a joke that hits, or maybe saying something where like, what'd you say?
Right.
Right? Yeah, they're my parents. They're going to be mad at some things I say.
Of course. As they should be.
Yeah.
Holding you accountable.
Of course. Oh, man. So I'm curious, you're going to get your master's degree when?
Hopefully I'll finish this year. I really have 2 classes left to do.
Let's get it. What's next?
What is next? So I'm working on growing my agency. We're kind of at the point, we didn't know how the insurance industry was going to work these last few years, but we've gotten really comfortable at navigating it and pivoting and being adaptable. So I feel like we're in growth cycle. I've got my properties kind of where they want to be I self-manage all my properties, which is a task, right? But I feel like I've learned enough through failing enough to be able to do that pretty successfully. I want to acquire another property this year. So that's always kind of a goal. Like usually every 2 years, I try to acquire a property because that is a long-term retirement plan. I'd love to win the lottery if possible. But also this is kind of the year where I am trying to focus on coming back to myself a little bit, working out, eating right, drinking water, getting sleep, being there with my kids. Because what is the cost of success, right? I don't want to be so successful that I go to my deathbed and go, I wish. I don't want that life for me. I don't want that life for my children. I want to be able to show them that you can have success and balance things, which is a really hard thing to do. So those are my big goals this year.
I love that. You said something there, and I think the cost of regret far outweighs the cost of success.
Oh, totally.
Right? So if, like you just said, on your deathbed, right, what regrets are you going to have? I could say, just knowing you and experiencing this conversation with you, that your regrets might be very minimal.
I hope so.
Right? And what you're able to instill in your children and help them launch.
Yeah.
Right? We're seeing 35-year-olds living at home, like failure to launch.
Totally.
Like, get up and go.
And again, I think that goes back to a little bit, not judging other people's situations, but I really hold my kids accountable for their behavior and their actions and also their products, right? So I'm not going to force them, right? I'm not like a mom that's like, you have to do this, this, and that. But I'm like, if you're going to do something, there's going to be standards and you're going to do it well.
The standards.
Systems,
processes, and standards.
Yeah, and you're like, geez, thanks, military, right?
Yeah.
We learned all those things. And then we have an after-action review. How did we do this? Yeah. What could we improve upon?
They signed me up for the ability to be successful. What a shame.
Right.
What a shame.
Right. So I think it's, with the kids especially, it's like I get this opportunity to figure out how to be a good person for them and then try to help them do that themselves, which is awesome. And I think a lot of people see their kids sometimes as like just challenge to them, not an extension of like how great life can be. That's what I want. And that's why I'm trying to like get to the point where like I don't regret any of the decisions. We're going to regret a few, but I don't regret any of the big decisions I made because it was all made with love and intentionality and consideration for the people around me.
I love this. And you've astounded me during this conversation quite a bit. I was just in a conversation about framing, your mindset framing. And you said, be positive earlier, right? You live in a positive way and all this stuff. And were you always this way, or did you have to reframe your mindset and your approach to be so intent on the positivity of life and the world?
So I think that I probably came out this way. And that was a byproduct of my dad, who was a very positive, happy person. He also loved whimsy. So just finding like stupid things to be happy about. And one of the things that they can correlate to full happiness in the world is finding joy in things, finding bigger purpose, right? So looking at a sunset and going, holy shit, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm small, this is big. Oh my God, it's amazing. And so I think I've really embedded that into my personality. And then I'll go back to, you know, being in the military and like seeing some of the things I saw. It was so draining and so depressive and so hard. You know, I had people in my unit commit suicide. Mm-hmm. And like, I had people around me who, right or wrong, like forced me into looking at that perspective, right? Maybe the way they did it was very military and maybe not the kindest at the time, but it reframed that. And then the further away I got from being in that moment, the more I can look back and go, okay, how awesome is my life? How awesome are my opportunities? How awesome is it that I can get up and start over again? And then connect to those bigger things, connect to the sunset or the sunrise or whatever makes you happy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter, but you have to be able to find joy and kind of whimsy and joke and be positive of just about the little stuff. And it's those little building blocks that make the big things much easier to handle.
Wonderful. I'm astonished. I absolutely adore you, Alex. And I love what you're doing. I love what you're bringing into the world, right? Being the light into the world and what you're doing for your husband, for you, for your kids. And it's just astonishing. And I hope people learn from this. I know some will. I hope more people do than what I expect.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got to learn in their own way, right? In their own path. And that's an opportunity that hopefully most people get.
I love it. Now, I got to ask, what is one book that changed your world or that you recommend everybody read?
Okay. So definitely I'm a big reader. I mostly listen to audibles now because how much I'm in the car, but I've always been like a super big reader. So I'll say, then this is like the nerdy side of me. One book I would recommend everybody read just because it's a rad book is Dune. Like I read the whole entire Dune series and I did that when I was really young. And it is just an engrossing story, right? It's an engrossing story. It is a great parable about how the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And even if you do everything right, you can still be wrong. Thank you, Star Trek, right? But I'm a huge nerd. Right. So I liked connecting all the morality of that book and that whole entire series back into the real world. So I think that would be number one. If you would talk about like a self-help or like business book, I'm going to go back to Extreme Ownership.
Yes.
Dude, that book, like it's for the people who like the military stuff, like it'll rock your socks, right? But also I'm going to go back to once you pivot that little mindset, you just tweak it a little bit, your life is going to actually be easier when you take more responsibility and accountability for your actions and just the things that are around you.
Yeah, that's an amazing book. I've read it twice.
Oh, it's so good.
Got to meet Jocko. He signed it for me.
That's rad.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody I'd like to emulate one day.
Yeah.
In my own way.
Right. And then you grow to be the person that you need, right? With those little snippets. Yeah.
What a gangster that guy is.
He's so cool.
Yeah, so awesome.
Yeah.
And last question before I let you go here today. What is one piece of advice you'd give anybody in the world today?
I would say never work for free. And I'm not saying don't do favors for people, don't be kind, but know your value, know your worth. Don't put up with bullshit clients. Don't put up with bullshit people. Don't give people, or what is it? Don't be considerate when you're not considered.
Deep. I love that.
Right? So never work for free, especially as an entrepreneur. Like you have to set boundaries around your life, your work, your personality, your spaces, right? To be as successful as you want to be. And you have to do those early. And you have to live with those. And you have to commit to those.
Amazing. Alex, it's been wonderful to get to know you even more. I love you dearly. I'm excited to see what's next for you.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks for having me.